Fort Macon, which was built to protect Beaufort Inlet and Beaufort Harbor, has seen both wartime tragedies and accomplishments, and is today North Carolina's most visited park. The fort changed hands several times between Union and Confederate forces during the Civil War, eventually falling into disrepair. In 1924, the fort was sold to North Carolina for $1, renovated as part of the state park system in 1934, and eventually opened as the state's first working park in 1936. During World War II, the fort was retaken by the federal government and used to protect a number of important nearby facilities. The state park now has a sheltered beach with a beachfront bathhouse, sun-drenched nature walks, family-friendly picnic areas, and a plentiful supply of fish. Ghost tours are available for those who want to learn more about the fort's strange history. The fort was renovated for a multi-million-dollar project, rehabilitating the 26 casemates, or domed chambers, that were utilized as refuge, cooking area, and jail cells for troops. What are the best places for fishing at Fort Macon? We'll assume you're new to fishing, don't own a boat, and don't want to pay for a charter right now. Hence, follow this guide and you will figure out where you should be visiting to secure the best fishing experiences at Fort Macon. You may spend a lot of money on fishing, but if you have bait and equipment, there are lots of free fishing sites in Beaufort. Anyone may fish in Taylor's Creek from the Great and Paul Town Park Pier using light gear, just east of the docks on Front Street. However, there are a few sites within a short drive. Greater than read, is traveling a hobby? The ultimate guide to an exciting way of life. Greater than learn about the downsides of traveling as a hobby. Fort Macon State Park. The travel from Beaufort to Fort Macon takes around 15 minutes or less. A lengthy stretch of beach runs from an ancient stone jetty east along the west side of Beaufort Inlet, in addition to the fort and its surrounding gardens. A lovely beach on the ocean side goes all the way to the park's border, beyond which lies the town of Atlantic Beach, which may be reached by walking west from the same jetty. A bathhouse with facilities and outdoor showers, as well as a huge parking lot, are located just within that border. After you've parked, go eastward down the beach, or left facing the water. Near the parking lot, there are some pebbles along the shore. This is an excellent spot for surf fishing, with bluefish and northern puffers among the species caught. Continue eastward towards the inlet if the beach is packed. Across the inlet, you'll see Shackleford Banks. The distance between the bathhouse and the jetties is about a mile, and the crowds thin out fast as you go east. Pick a location, bait your hooks, and start fishing after the crowds have thinned down. If the fish aren't biting, the beach and vistas are equally appealing. Radio Island Beach Access. Radio Island is located just east of Beaufort and may be reached by Highway 70. Cedar Street in Beaufort and Arundel Street in Morehead City. Turn left off of 70 onto Radio Island Road, then left again onto Marine Road. Take the second left, right before the road to the Old Town Yacht Club, after a little less than a half mile. There are toilets and a sufficient parking lot. Start fishing at the seashore. Except on weekends, it's usually not very busy. The Newport River Pier. The Newport River Fishing Pier in Morehead City, which is practically part of Radio Island, is a great place to go pier fishing. Simply turn right off of Highway 70 in Beaufort, rather than left on Radio Island Road, into a little lane that leads to the parking lot. When the weather is nice, though, arrive early since the pier fills up fast. After a day of fishing, return to Beaufort for a drink and a view of the sunset. Greater than read, is traveling a hobby? The ultimate guide to an exciting way of life. Greater than learn about the downsides of traveling as a hobby. Other things to do at Fort Macon. Spending your time at Fort Macon is not all about fishing. There are numerous other activities available for you to engage with and enjoy. Let's take a look at some of the most prominent activities out of them. In the tiny town of Atlantic Beach, North Carolina, Fort Macon State Park is situated at the western extremity of Bogue Sound, a barrier island. As it approaches the park, the 4-lane road that runs through most of town narrows and becomes Fort Macon Road. There is no entry cost to the park, making it a unique treat for both residents and visitors. The park is open throughout the day for most of the year, making it an excellent day travel option. Visit the Coastal Education Center to learn more about fishing. At the Coastal Education Center, the adventure starts. There are bathrooms, an information desk, a museum shop, and an exhibit room in the massive visitor center. I settled onto a nice seat in the theater to see a brief film about the park's history. I got my North Carolina State Parks passport stamp and a map of the fort when I was done, and I was off to the adventure. Getting started with your stay. Any visit to the fort starts with a walk over a dry moat into the sally port on a wooden footbridge. A few of seats were placed just inside the entryway, providing a spot to rest or wait for a presentation to begin. The outside wall extends around the moat and contains cannon locations, but I'm not sure whether any have ever been mounted here. Visitors may stroll around the moat's wall, examine the casemates' apartments, and descend the steps to the moat's floor. This is something I usually save for an access port at the fort's far end. There are hundreds of chambers to explore inside the fort's casemate. Some of the rooms have been turned into exhibit areas, with life in the barracks, officers' quarters, and quartermaster's office being shown. The other rooms have nothing except a hardwood floor and a doorway in the back that connects them all. Walking from room to room via the back entrances is one of my favorite things to do in this fort. A compartment in the fort's far corner is fully sealed off from the rest of the fort. Because it is so safe, I believe it was formerly used as a powder storage chamber. Outside the walls of Fort Macon. Another sally port, or fort entrance, is located at the further end of the fort. A stone stairway carved into the outside wall is reached through a wooden bridge. This is where I usually go around the fort, climbing to the top of the outside wall. One of the apartments buried deep under the earth is reached through a stairway in the corner. To ensure that gunpowder and ammo were never ignited by enemy cannon fire, here was where they were housed. It's also a really gloomy and interesting location to explore. Fort Macon's highest point. There are 3 stairs going to the summit of the fort from inside the fort. Only one of the stairs was accessible the last time I came, but it still enabled me to go around the top of the fort. There were many cannons on show here, as well as breathtaking views of the nearby beach and the Atlantic Ocean. It's at this time, when I'm standing on top of the fort, looking out over the internal parade ground on one side, the moat on the other, and the ocean nearby, that I realize how incredible this fort is. It's one of the most beautifully restored forts I've ever seen, easily comparable to national monuments managed by the National Park Service. North Carolina State Parks deserves a lot of credit for creating one of my favorite state parks in the nation. Beach in Fort Macon. There's a lot more to see and do at this state park than simply the amazing fort. Fort Macon Beach is situated near the state park's entrance on Fort Macon Road. There is a large parking area at Atlantic Beach that comes in handy for those looking for free beach access. The Fort Macon bathhouse is one of the greatest on any North Carolina public beach. The toilets are lovely, there's plenty of space to change clothes, and the covered terrace is a terrific spot to be if a summer rainstorm comes up unexpectedly. If you merely want to get out of the vehicle and go for a swim, there are various beach access locations in the main parking lot near the tourist center. A wooden boardwalk and covered observation deck viewing the beach and inlet can be found practically immediately across from the Coastal Education Center. The third line of defense for the seacoast. The third system of seacoast fortifications, which ran along both the east and west coastlines, included Fort Macon, Fort Pulaski National Monument in Georgia, Fort Monroe National Monument in Virginia, and Fort Jefferson and Dry Tortugas National Park in Florida are some of the other significant forts that are still available for exploration today. 3 ways to have the most fun on a Fort Macon State Park day trip. Take a day excursion to one of the top state parks in the nation during your vacation on the Emerald Isles beaches. It's no surprise that Fort Macon State Park was named North Carolina State Park of the Year in 2015. Beautiful vistas are combined with a historical history and much of local culture in this park. A visit to Fort Macon makes for a terrific day excursion whether you're a history enthusiast, traveling with children, or just want to explore the park's coastline. One of the many wonderful parks around Emerald Isle is Fort Macon State Park. Download our free vacation guide for a complete list of our top parks. There are lots of fantastic alternatives for a day in the sun, from Cape Lookout National Seashore to the tiny Emerald Isle Woods Park. You'll also be given suggestions for the top restaurants, museums, and family-friendly activities in the area. With our free vacation guide, you'll have your vacation planned in no time. Learn about the history of Fort Macon. Half natural preserve, part historic location, Fort Macon State Park has it all. A reproduction of the historic Fort Macon, which operated as a fortification throughout the 18th and 19th centuries, can be seen in the park. During the Civil War, the Spanish-American War, and World War I, this bastion served North Carolina. During his time on the high seas, the famed pirate Blackbeard traveled through Beaufort Inlet. Attend events in Fort Macon. Make careful to check the park's website for any planned activities before going. Monday through Friday at 11 a.m., tours of the fort begin and last around 45 minutes. Throughout the trip, you'll learn about the area's history, from the assault of Fort Macon through its rebuilding. There are also unique activities worth attending, such as musket demonstrations and guided walks. Relax at a beautiful vacation home in Spinnaker's Reach. After a day at Fort Macon State Park, relax in a home from Spinnaker's Reach for the evening. From beachfront to inner residences, we offer the greatest collection of properties in Emerald Isle. You'll discover the right spot to stay whether you're planning a trip with only your immediate family or a big group of friends. Final words. Fort Macon is a paradise available for people who are interested in fishing. Keep these tips in mind and go ahead with visiting the Fort Macon, so that you can secure the best possible experiences with fishing. You will appreciate all the great memories that fishing at Fort Macon can deliver to you. Fishing is for anyone who visit Fort Macon as well.